Chels.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to Tea with D. Cheers.
I got some water.
That works. That works. So Chels, you and I have been working together now for like a couple years, and you are now getting to a point where you are actually coaching your clients through this work as well. I guess start off a little bit. Tell me what your life looked like 2 years ago. Like just like lay a framework.
Okay. So 2 years ago, I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old before I started this work. And life was very chaotic. And I was living in a very victim mindset. Like things were constantly happening to me. My relationship with my husband was not at a great place. We were not communicating well. With my first son, when he was born, I went through a lot of postpartum depression, and that kind of threw my whole motherhood journey in for a loop. And it was just kind of this constant spiral of feeling very unhappy and not loving my life. And I'm like, but why don't I? I have 2 beautiful kids now and an incredible husband. We live in the beautiful house. So it was very weird for me to have that constant, I should be happy, but I'm not. So it was kind of always going back and forth. And my health is such a big piece of my whole journey. So not doing something for my health or not doing something good for my body and constantly being out of alignment was just not serving me. And I didn't know how to change it. I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't really know what else to do other than this constant circle that I was just in, just day after day. And then it looked like yelling at my kids, not speaking to my husband very kindly, things not really going the way I wanted. I was trying to grow my business. Things and connections were not happening. A lot of people were kind of like, oh, this is not for me, and everything, because they were kind of sensing my attitude towards all of it. So yeah, I knew something had to shift when my husband and I had a real conversation about it. And then I was just like, okay, it was a lot of denial. I didn't really realize this was happening or things were coming up like this. So it was a lot of denial to actually realize no, I'm not a very nice person, because I'm not doing anything for me. I was just doing everything, giving every bit of my energy to my kids and my husband and whoever else would come into my life that needed a piece of it, but not doing anything for me. So I knew some stuff had to shift, but I didn't know where to start.
So fast forward now 2 years, and it's been like a journey. And even Chelsea and I say this to each other all the time. It's like the more you dive into studying yourself, the more you think you know, the realize you know nothing. Like it's like, oh dang, like just when I thought I was like doing this, it's like, oh, I got to keep going, right? Like this work never actually ends. But what would you say your like biggest the biggest shift that you've had that has ultimately like it shifted your relationships, whether it was with your kids or your husband or just anybody that comes in contact with you?
I think my biggest shifts were figuring out what I wanted and then getting that accomplished. I study every morning now and I'm always growing myself. So that has then in turn helped me be a better mom, a better wife. And I can speak to my kids in a nicer way and not come across as just yelling at them or an aggressive tone behind my voice, because then in turn they just do that right back to me. So it's just oh, great. I'm just teaching them how to to do what I don't want them to do, basically.
So what would you say then, like how have you been using this work because now you coach moms, like you coach moms through this. And what are some of the tools that you use that you're coaching on now?
So the biggest tools is like, from what my experience was like, speaking, taking what I had learned and then figuring out a way. Like now my kids are 2 and 4. So it was like, how can I speak to them in a way that they're not going to fully grasp what I'm learning, but I can speak to them in a way that they're going to understand it, and just showing kindness constantly, because it's like, that's what I want returned back to me. So if I'm constantly showing that with anyone, more like outside of just my kids, then that's what they're going to see. And that's what, like, they see more than they actually hear, or like, yeah. So it's been a lot of learning curves of, yeah, taking what I can learn and shifting the negative in my head, because then that's going to help them shift the negative when something comes up. Or like my son will get very agitated when something happens or when there's a change. So it's like helping him work through that, because I know how to work through that now when something happens with me. So it's like just talking to him and asking questions and stuff depending on his like state. But before, it would just be like, I can't deal with you, and then just I would leave the room because I was just going to blow up or freak out more, and that wasn't serving him or me. But it's now I can come at it from like a calm place and actually speak to him and not like talk down to him in a way. So yeah, that's been like a huge learning for me. And then in the work that I do now, it's like I get to show other moms how to do that with their kids, and a lot of them are generally pregnant when I'm connecting with them. So it's, they either have a toddler already or this is their first. So it's like just allowing them to kind of set up these things before their child is like speaking yet or stuff. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to like take what I've learned and put it into action.
Yeah. And I love that so much, because even what we don't realize as parents is like, from the moment our kids, I mean, there's epigenetics, and like obviously from the moment of conception, like your genes, there's like the genetic part, right? But from the moment they exit the womb, their subconscious mind is just wide open. It's wide open and it's taking on everything. It's how they learn what their name is. Like my parents didn't just say, okay, baby Delyn, your name's Delyn. I'm only going to tell you once, so you better remember, right? I had to learn, oh, when they say that word, that when they say that sound, they must be talking to me because they're saying it at me all the time. Okay, and I'll respond. Like even as a baby, right? I remember with my own girls, like the moment I would say, I don't remember at what point, but I remember saying to Dave, oh my gosh, Izzy knows her name. Like when I say Izzy, she turns her head, like she gets it, right? And it's like they're taking everything in. Their subconscious mind is wide open from the word go. Like they come out, boom. Yes, they're in survival mode. Like I just want to eat, sleep, I'll poop, and then I'll repeat the process. That's what it looks like from our perspective. But really, while your subconscious mind is open while you're awake or while you're asleep. So they are taking in everything constantly. So this is where arguably like your environment is more important than genetics. Like you can be programmed genetically with whatever, but then there's workarounds for that stuff, right? Your environment, it's like your environment is your environment. And when you're a baby, you don't choose your environment because you need those humans to survive, because you can't feed yourself and do all that kind of stuff, right? So it's like when you truly realize that in those first 7 years, you like us as parents, we have huge opportunity to form everything, not just teach them their name and what foods they like and what language they're going to speak. Like these are the obvious things, and how to walk and potty train them. Like those are the things we focus on, but it's like we are laying the foundation for the rest of their life. Because and we get this, right? Like Chelsea, the way you were responding and the way I was responding to people and other situations when I first started this work, I was like, well, this is how I was programmed to respond to it. Like, and so many times, like even my older sister, she'll look at me and she'll go, oh my gosh, that you were so mom right there. you're so mom. And I'm like, yep, that's who programmed me. Like, and it's no blame, right? It's just everybody's doing the best they can with their current level of awareness, but that's where it's so important for us as parents to grow our awareness. Right? So this is ultimately what you're saying. You're going like, okay, when I started growing me, I can now give to you because I can't give what's not in me to give. And the more I know me, the more I know you. Mm-hmm. Right? The more I study it. And it's like, I love what you said. Like it's a total cup filling process. Like we study before our kids even wake up in the morning, and then we get to like pour into them and whoever else the rest of the day. Yeah. So what is one like really big tip if for any like moms that catch this, what's that top thing that you want to emphasize?
I think it would be like we chatted about, like do something that's going to fill you up, whatever that is, whatever is going to bring you joy. For me, sometimes that's just reading like a really awesome book, because I start to learn more about things that I'm really interested in. And then that helps grow myself. And then like if you're wanting to parent better, read an awesome parenting book. Like that's where I kind of started. It's like taking in this work. So I'm like, okay, how can I like translate this into my kids? It was like, read this positive parenting book. And then that would help me with like responses of like, if we say no to something, we're going to say why. They're not having a sugary treat before supper or something. So it's like, how can I respond to that rather than reacting to it? Because if they're reacting and I'm reacting, then it's just like a disaster before supper, because it's like they're hungry, whatever, so many reasons. But it's like just aligning yourself with what's going to serve you first. And it sounds very selfish, but it's actually not, because you end up being a better person, a better human, a better mom. And then your kids see that, especially if you have little girls. Like I have 2 little boys, but it's like you want to show them how to be a mom or how to be a dad, like if they want their own kids. So it's, yeah. When I learned that about like the subconscious being wide open and like knowing that I'm forming all of their beliefs and their paradigm, like everything was like, holy crap.
No pressure. Yeah. No pressure, mom.
Like this is a big job. but understanding it deeper and knowing how I can help them rather than hinder them going forward, to the best of my current level of awareness. There'll still be things I did wrong, and they'll do their own work when they're older, but
yep.
Yeah.
But it's just even accepting that. I'm like, there's things that I'm going to teach them that they're not going to resonate with. And then they can relearn something. The reprogramming is possible. So I guess for anybody that like catches this, that's like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm already programmed. I'm well past 7, right? Like Chelsea and myself, we are like prime examples of the reprogramming process, because like we have to be willing though to do the reprogram. Like the reprogramming itself is, I would like say, it's not for the faint of heart. Like it's not like, oh, no big deal. Like these are deep rooted beliefs that you've had your entire life and reinforced your entire life. So it's like you got them programmed in, you're going to reprogram them out to get you further. But when it comes to parenting, it's like we have a huge opportunity to teach this work as we learn it to our kids, so that this next generation just has a huge opportunity to be so aware, like just such aware little humans. Right. And it's that just, it pumps me up, because that's the stuff that changes the world. That's the stuff right there.
Teaching our kids how to make a decision is huge. Oh,
or responsibility. Responsibility is huge. Like that's been my biggest, I didn't realize how much of a blamer I was before. Like I was always a positive person, but I also always had, when something didn't go the way I thought it should, I was just like, oh, it's because of this person, or it's because of this circumstance, or my manager did this, or the government did this, or they, like, I was just like, for me, I was like, Lynn, take responsibility. And now my biggest thing for my girls, like even something happened last night with Izzy, and afterwards she comes up to me and she goes, Mom, I'm sorry that happened. She goes, I own it. I own it. And I'm like, oh girl, like, ah, and she's 10. Like, how many adults do you want to just shake them and be like, just own your stuff, just own it, right? And here my 10-year-old, it's all right, Mom, I own it. I'm like, girl, you just like made me the happiest mom in the entire world. Like, that was awesome, right? And I just got goosebumps. Like, it just is, when like my girls are at the stage now, like they're 8 and 10, and they've been exposed to this work now since they were 2 and 4, right? And so now they're really like, they articulate exactly, like they're showing me through their actions, right? And it's like the coolest thing. But it didn't just start yesterday. It started years ago.
Yeah.
So good. I love it. Oh my gosh, I feel like I could chat with you all day about this, Chelsea.
Yes. Yes.
So good. Awesome. Thank you for thanks for having this chat. And yeah, for whoever catches this, reach out if this is resonating with you, so that we can like just there, it's possible. It doesn't matter how old your kids are. It doesn't matter how old you are. The reprogramming process is possible. So here's to making a like more aware next generation. Love it.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Dylan.